Now? No? Yes, no? Oh man, there's always okay. Yeah,
Oh, yep.
we're good.
So
Okay.
I guess we should plug the headphones into there. Hello, Isaiah. Hello,
going
Fishing
on?
Blackwater Sound.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, Blix.
We're about to get started here. I was just ripping some harmonica there, and you guys didn't even get to hear it. That sucks. I guess I'll blow the horn again once more. Here's a Jaws theme. Ready? Yeah, before we get into the scary stuff, we got to do some Jaws first. All right, enough of that. So what we're going to be checking out today, guys, is a channel that we've been meaning to go back and react to their stuff. It's amazing, and I love the channel so much. And the host of it she's incredible. She's absolutely awesome. Her name is Air, which is actually an amazing name. I know, right? I know. I just had to let that sink in for a second for you guys. Air is a name, yeah. It's like rain. It's kind of weird, right? Instant connection right there. Okay, so she has these videos. If you guys are not familiar with any of our reactions, we've done a lot of reactions to this particular channel. And now we've been meaning to come back. We were actually gonna just start releasing some more videos, but just thought, you know what, let's do a live and let's watch like 2 videos. Let's do it. So I think this will be kind of fun and interesting. Oh, let me go back here. So I'm gonna bring up the screen here. Let me know what you guys think for the reaction, okay? So what you're seeing now, obviously you're seeing like a duplicate here, but are you guys okay with seeing it like this? There we go. This will look a little bit more appropriate. Or, so that'll be number 1. Or do you guys think this looks better? You can say that as number 2.
Oh, thanks, Blix. Whenever you can, that's awesome.
Awesome. Yeah. Number 2, right on. So that's why you guys can see more of the pic. That's what I was thinking too, right? Because right over here, I mean, yeah, you do see more of us, but you guys aren't really going to be able to see the details in the video that we're seeing either, right? Which kind of sucks. So we're going to check it out like this. So let's head on over here. Now, there's been a couple that I haven't seen. I've honestly been holding myself back from watching some of them because I love to do these reactions for them too. The first one that I was looking to watch was this one over here. It's kind of creepy, but I don't know, Jen. Look at that guy right there. This guy, Corey Wayne. I mean, when I first saw that photo, I thought that was John Wayne Gacy.
So did I at first.
Yeah, it looks like John, doesn't it? Creepy bastard. But this guy, I don't know. Something about it's not even just so much of the image, it's the eyes that kind of get me sometimes with these people, right? I don't know, something about this guy speaks volumes. I'm kind of curious about what his story is. This one's 15 minutes long.
Okay, actually. Give me 1 sec, and I will grab my phone so I can actually see the chat.
Sounds good. Let's give time for people to prep up too. I'm gonna give this video a like already because I already know it's going to be amazing. And Air does.
Always are.
Oh yeah, Air does really good work. If you guys are not familiar with this channel at all, I think it's about time to. That's Death Row Executions. It's literally the content is literally just the name, right? I mean, it's very straightforward and awesome. This I need to do sometime when I'm not so broke. But if you guys want to, absolutely go and join in. I'm going to grab my phone too because I want to see what's going on in the chat.
Hello, Ink Demon Gaming. Sorry, didn't see you come in.
Yeah, sorry guys. I'm just grabbing my phone now so I can see who's all popping in here and stuff. Florida? Oh yeah, I know. I've heard that Florida is really hot too. I've heard that from a couple people now. Okay, I think we're going to dive on in, folks. All right, Jen. This is going to be an intense one. You know what I'm going to do first, guys? I don't want any echo going on here while we're reacting. So before we jump completely in, let's just do a little test. I'm going to play the intro. And you guys give me thumbs up if it sounds really good. And thumbs down if it needs fixing. If they're not even able to hear that, then I don't know what to figure that out.
Is the volume turned up on? Because I can't hear it.
Yeah, see, I can't hear that either for some odd reason. I don't know why that is.
Is the volume up on the...
Yeah, everything's turned up on there, so I don't know why we're not. That's weird. We should be able to hear it.
To the 53rd episode.
Oh, that's odd. But now it's. Oh.
Executions.
Ah, there we go. Now I can hear it. Aha. Okay, let's try that again. Can't hear? Okay, let's try this one more time.
Throughout history, there have been people who have committed some of the most heinous crimes fathomable. For those crimes, they have been convicted and sentenced to death. Welcome to Death Row Executions.
Awesome. So you guys can hear that. Okay, excellent. Yeah. Now we can hear it too. I was just thinking to myself, why can't I hear this? What is going on here? I guess the earphones must have been unplugged. Just enough. Okay, let's jump on and full screen here. Okay, so I guess just a pre-warning to anybody out there. Sometimes these videos do get a little bit intense. The content with it can be kind of it can sit with somebody very hard, right? People who are very sensitive. I'm a sensitive person myself, right? I might be a 6'4" giant, but I'm still a sensitive guy, right? So yeah, it does hit me hard. But if you're somebody who can actually, sort of deal with that stuff, you're good. But if you're not, I don't know. All right, on Ink Demon. Yeah, guys, he does some really cool art. Ink Demon there. It says gaming. I know your name says gaming, but I know you for your art. But all right, let's jump on into this here.
Fishing Blackwater Sound was saying it's low though.
It's low. Okay. Yeah. Hopefully this will make a difference for you guys.
We take a look into the lives of society's worst offenders. And now, your host, Air.
Hello, everyone. This is Air, and welcome to the 53rd episode of Death Row Executions. Today's story is on Daniel Lee, who was executed this year in 2020, and it was the first federal execution since the execution of Louis Jones Jr. in 2003. For a little background information, the Supreme Court put a halt on executions at the state and federal level in 1972, but it was reinstated at the state level by the Supreme Court in 1976. It wasn't until 1988 that the government reinstated executions on the federal level, and although they have been slow, this year the Trump administration said that they were going to resume federal executions after a very long hiatus. This year there have been 8, starting in July of 2020, with Daniel Lewis Lee being the first federal death row inmate to go.
I was talking about eyes on people, right? I mean, let's see if we can get back to. Look at this guy.
He only has one eye.
He has one eye for one. I guess the one eye that's still there.
Hey, Lorna.
Hey. Yeah, and I know a lot of people don't get notices. It's YouTube's just weird with a lot of people lately, so it's just kind of strange. All right, so let's get back into this creepy guy and find out more about his story. Daniel Lewis Lee, huh? Yeah, I ain't never heard of this guy before myself.
Inmate to go.
3 counts of capital murder have been filed against Daniel Lee, alias Danny Lewis Graham, among other aliases. Graham's being held in Oklahoma, where he was arrested yesterday. He's fighting extradition to Arkansas. Authorities expect to have him extradited, though, within the next 30 to 60 days.
Daniel Lewis Lee was born on January 31st, 1973, in Yukon, Oklahoma. Growing up, he did not live in the best of environments and had no support at home. He was abused and eventually neglected, so he began to run the streets and hang around the wrong crowds. There is not much on his early life, but the first time he was sentenced for a crime was when he was 17 years old. One day, on July 24th, 1990, Daniel went to a house party in Oklahoma City with his cousin John David. The two were drinking, and as time passed, Daniel ended up getting into an argument with another teenager by the name of Joseph because Joseph had peed on a recliner that another party attendee was sitting on. The argument escalated into a physical fight, and Daniel was able to overpower Joseph with punches to the face. Once Joseph fell to the floor, Daniel proceeded to kick him until he was unconscious. With the help of his cousin, Daniel was able to carry Joseph out of the party and transported his body to a sewage tunnel. Daniel then stole whatever Joseph had on him and then handed his cousin John a knife. After stripping Joseph naked and killing him with the knife, John and Daniel both left him for dead. The cousins were free until they were caught towards the end of November of 1990. Being that Daniel did not use the knife on Joseph, he was able to accept a plea deal to where the murder charge would be dismissed, and on December 2nd, 1990, he pled guilty to robbery and was sentenced to only 5 years in prison. His cousin John, on the other hand, was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. After being released from prison, Daniel still ventured on the wrong path and continued to drink and party. This time around, he began to hang around white supremacists and eventually became a part of the Inland Northwest White Supremacist Group. One day, while having drinks at a bar in Spokane, Washington, Daniel got into yet another bar fight, but unlike his fight before prison, he lost this fight and also lost his eye. Because of this, his fellow brothers nicknamed him Cyclops. 5 years after his first sentence and fresh out of prison, Daniel was caught with a weapon on him, but instead of spending time in prison, he was sentenced to 6 months of probation on May 3, 1995. Around the same time, he met a fellow skinhead of the same age by the name of Chevy Kehoe. Chevy was a fellow white supremacist who grew up homeschooled in a household that preached anti-government and white supremacy. His father, Kirby, was a former Vietnam veteran who returned home and instilled hateful beliefs and values in his sons. As Chevy got older, he married 2 wives because he believed it would add to the population of the Aryan race. He also ended up forming a group called the Aryan People's Republic, which was a militia group designed to bring down the U.S. government. Chevy, along with his father, would rob homes on the hunt for firearms, and then they would go to gun show events in order to sell what they had stolen. Daniel, now a part of a new crew, became involved in Chevy's crime ring. It is believed that they took part in the bombing of the City Hall in Spokane, Washington, but were never charged for it. The following year, in 1996, Daniel, Chevy, and Chevy's brother Shane drove to Arkansas from Washington with the intentions of robbing a known gun dealer by the name of William Mueller. Chevy had convinced Daniel that it was a good hit because he and his father had already robbed him the year before. On January 13, 1996, the men put on FBI clothing and broke into William Mueller's home. No one was there, so Daniel and Chevy decided to wait. William finally arrived with his wife Nancy and their 8-year-old daughter Sarah, and were immediately met by Daniel and Chevy, who overpowered the married couple. William was unwilling to disclose where his valuables were, so Daniel and Chevy separated the family and demanded that Sarah let them know where all of her parents' money, guns, and ammunition were. Once she told them, all 3 of them were shot with a stun gun, and plastic bags were put over their heads and sealed with duct tape. Daniel and Chevy were able to steal $50,000 in cash, and the bodies were then put into Chevy's vehicle, where they drove to a bayou in Illinois, taped rocks to their bodies, and then threw them into the bayou. After committing the murders, Daniel and Chevy went to different states and attended multiple gun shows in order to sell the stolen guns and ammo. Months had passed, and it was now June of 1996 when the Mueller family was found in the water of Lake Darnell in Russellville, Arkansas. Daniel and others involved with the murder were not arrested until the following year in 1997, when police were able to trace some of the guns sold at the gun shows back to Chevy. Before the men were indicted on December 12, 1997, Daniel's partners in crime, Chevy and Shane, were stopped in Ohio for expired tags, and this interaction transpired.
It was just after 1:30 when the officer pulled over the blue Chevy Suburban with Washington state plates for a traffic violation. Neither man in the vehicle could produce ID, so the officer asked the driver to step out of the car. The man told the officer he borrowed the truck from a friend. He then refused to a pat-down search. Listen as the officer attempts to search the man for weapons.
Like the guns, knives, clubs, stuff like that on here, sir? I don't want you going and searching through all my stuff. I'm not searching through your stuff, sir. I'm going to put you in my car. Well, that's just fine, but now, do you have any guns, knives, clubs, and stuff like that on you? Very good. Listen, sir, I don't want no problems. I'm not going to give you any problems, sir.
Apparently, he did want problems. A few more minutes went by. Then the man ran back to his car in an attempt to get away. The passenger then opened fire on the police.
Ooh.
As the passenger ran into the woods, the driver sped away.
No
Amazingly,
way.
no one was injured in this exchange. A few minutes later, the driver pulled into a parking lot, and when a Wilmington officer approached him, the gunfight continued. More than 30 rounds were fired here, one bullet striking a passerby in the shoulder. The nationwide search for the 2 men continued.
Chevy was with his brother Shane, and they were able to escape custody. Shane was eventually caught first and worked with his mother Gloria to help catch Chevy. They eventually testified against Chevy and Daniel in court, with Shane admitting to them that they were in a white supremacist group that was anti-government and how they were involved in other major crimes. On January 5, 1998, the men were brought in front of a judge for their arraignment, and the judge ruled that the men be locked up until their trial, which did not start until March of 1999. Daniel and Chevy had the same trial but different penalty phases. The jury believed that Chevy was a partial victim and was manipulated by his parents and did not have the best upbringing. They felt his parents' views on life were abnormal, which made it hard for him, so they gave him 3 life sentences instead of the death penalty. Although Daniel's attorneys tried to argue that he had neurological issues, was a psychopath, and haunted from his abusive childhood, the jury did not buy it and sentenced him to death on May 14, 1999. The full charges were 3 capital murder charges, racketeering, and conspiracy to commit racketeering. The judge made it known that he believed the Aryan People's Republic Group was created in order to start a revolution against America and build a new nation. In order to get to where they wanted to be, they killed, robbed, and sold stolen property. Daniel did try to appeal his case, with one point being that his Sixth Amendment rights were violated because testimonies from Gloria and Shane during trial were deemed acceptable
on?
when he felt everything was hearsay. He also tried to argue that it was not fair he and Chevy had the same trial and his wishes for a separate trial were not granted. He also did not think it was fair that his accomplice, who was the mastermind, got a lesser sentence. One of the last points Daniel tried to argue was that the government failed to prove that his Aryan group was involved in hearsay. He also tried to argue that it was not fair he and Chevy had the same trial and his wishes for a separate trial were not granted. He also did not think it was fair that his accomplice, who was the mastermind, got a lesser sentence. One of the last points Daniel tried to argue was that the government failed to prove that his Aryan group was involved in any conspiracy and failed to prove that he knew of a conspiracy and intentionally joined the group knowing he would then be a part of their conspiracies. The appeal.
Crazy thing about conspiracies nowadays is that a lot of the crazy people, or conspiracy theorists, as most people like to call them as well, crazy conspiracy theorists, lunatics, loonies, loony bins, whatever you want to call them.
Tin hat wearers, whatever.
Yeah, a lot of it's been proven to be true. So, this, did he have actually any involvement with the military in that aspect? I mean, I wonder if that's been further looked into, to be honest.
Court argued that they had sufficient evidence from the witnesses who testified, with one of them admitting that he was a member who helped recruit Daniel and explained their plans with him in detail.
Violent revolution.
That they were attempting to form an Aryan People's Republic. And in order to finance this revolution and establish this Aryan People's Republic, they were engaged in criminal activity.
The criminal activity includes kidnapping, robbery, and murder.
On July 8, 2004, the United States Court of Appeals denied Daniel's appeal for clemency. While on death row at Terre Haute in Indiana, Daniel maintained his innocence. When the Trump administration said that they would resume executions, Earlene Peterson, who was the mother and grandmother of 2 out of the 3 victims that were killed, filed a lawsuit or petition to halt the execution. She felt that going to prison during a pandemic would put her at risk, and she wanted the execution to be when the pandemic was over. Chief Judge Jane Magnus Stinson of the Southern District of Indiana came out with a statement after putting a hold on the original execution date. Ms. Peterson is being forced to choose whether being present for the execution of a man responsible for the death of her daughter and granddaughter is worth defying her doctor's orders and risking her own life. Although Earlene wanted to be in attendance of the execution, she did make it known that she was a Trump supporter and had written him a letter asking to commute Daniel's sentence to life in prison without the possibility of parole, but that wish was not granted.
I can't see how executing Daniel Lee will honor my daughter in any way. Because she wouldn't want it and I don't want it. That's not the way it should be. That's not the God I serve. The government ain't doing this for me, because I would say no. And I think President Trump is a God-fearing man. I voted for him. I'd vote for him again in 220 if he runs. If I could talk personally to President Trump, I feel he could feel my heart and know that I don't want this to happen. I believe that he should give Daniel Lee clemency for what he did. Just prison without any chance of parole.
Up until Daniel's last days on Earth, appeals were still being made to the Supreme Court. A little after 2 a.m. on July 14, 2020, the U.S. Supreme Court gave the go for the execution of Daniel to proceed. Daniel was brought to the execution room at around 4 a.m., and witnesses were still waiting in the witness room at 7:46 a.m. while Daniel was still alive and strapped in. The execution finally began, and after receiving a shot of pentobarbital, he was pronounced dead at 8:07 a.m. His final words were, "You're killing an innocent man." The Bureau of Prisons spokesperson refused to share with media what Daniel ate for his last meal, but it's been said that he requested 3 separate last meals. Thank you all for watching, and now for discussion and question time. What do you think is the reason behind the Bureau?
Yeah, like I said, guys, if you're new to this, I said it gets pretty tough on these videos, but oh, yes, you can. Blue.
Sometimes I have to point to chat so Sinister takes a look.
Gonna have to give me a minute here to kind of recover from that before we jump into one more of Air's crazy stories. One has to just sort of sink in.
Yes, that's right, Lorna. It is best not to chat about politics.
Yeah, it probably is.
Too many arguments get started that way. Oh, well, thank you for stopping in, Rebel Rose. You enjoy your grandbabies?
Yeah, thank you for coming on in.
Cuddling with the grandbabies is always the best. I know I miss my little grandson.
Oh, she made a really long one there too. You know what, guys? I think sometime soon, I think we ought to come back and do another live reaction. And I think we're gonna watch this one here. See, that one there's 32 minutes. So maybe when we do another reaction stream, yeah, we'll do this one and maybe a shorter one, maybe like one like this. See over here. So I'm gonna find another one here. Oh, I think I might have actually. It shows that I watched a little bit of it. I think I actually came in to say hi to Air when it was premiering. That's why. Let's take a little look. Let's get that off there. We're just scanning through here, guys. Give me a minute. I think I might go with this one over here.
Little humid in here.
It's a little warm in here right now, yeah.
That's why I'm a little sweaty under the eyes, guys. So that's all.
Yeah, I guess if anyone wants to talk politics, we can all do that outside of the chat here. So there ain't no clashing or anything. I'll just put this up here for a minute. If you guys have not liked and shared the stream, that would be greatly appreciated. I'm not even going to try to pronounce this name up here because I'm going to make a fool of myself.
Yeah,
So,
me too.
Instead,
I can say her first name, Irma, but that's it.
Instead, I'm going to show you guys something absolutely beautiful. Reese,
Put that on full screen so they can.
you guys should. Oh yeah, that's right. You guys got to see what this looks like. Oh yeah. I think I've showed the chocolate bar off before too. Oh yeah, baby. Wow. It's the best thing of life. Hubba, hubba.
Oh, now you're gonna tease everybody.
so they can see what it looks like on the inside. How amazing it is. Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome, Lorna. Episode 32 has her in it.
Really? Are you talking in it?
And Rain is not the only chocoholic. Ah.
Love the chocos.
Although mine will last a whole lot longer than his will.
That's very true. All right, let's dive on in here, peeps. Yeah, I probably gained 5 pounds just watching that. Yeah. Okay. So this is episode 56. Which episode did she say that she was in? 32. So we're gonna have to go back. Check that out. I'm gonna do that. All right, peeps. This one's a little bit shorter. Probably gonna be just as heavy. So let's dive on in and straddle up tight. Here we go.
There have been people who have committed some of the most heinous crimes fathomable. For those crimes, they have been convicted and sentenced to death. Welcome to Death Row Executions, where we take a look into the lives of society's worst offenders. And now, your host,
I
Air.
want to see what's going on with that quality there. Uh-huh.
There you go.
You want to show me her videos in 360? Not 360 degrees. Mind you, a 360 video from Air would be probably be pretty cool. I don't know how it would work, but I want some 1080p, baby.
Oh yeah.
It'll work.
There we go.
What is?
Nice side intro.
Hello, everyone. This is Air, and welcome to the 56th episode of Death Row Executions. Today's story is on Irma Gries, who was an SS guard for Nazi Germany and was sentenced during the Belsen trials after World War II. Irma Gries was born on October 7, 1923, in Germany. She was one of 5 siblings and grew up with both parents. Her father Alfred was an agricultural worker who eventually began to have an affair on his wife Bertha. Bertha was unable to handle the heartbreak, so in 1936, when Irma was just 13 years old, her mother drank hydrochloric acid and ended her life. Irma then stopped attending school after elementary and began working. Her sister Helene said that growing up, Irma never had the courage to fight when other girls got into it, and sometimes even run away to avoid confrontation. After elementary school, she began to work on farms like her father before leaving to work at a shop. At the age of 15, she worked at a hospital for 2 years and eventually decided she wanted to be a nurse, but she was turned down. She and her sisters wanted to join an association for German girls that would help them with work, but Alfred did not approve. When she turned 18 in 1941, she went against her father's wishes and moved to an SS training base for women that was located near a female concentration camp called Ravensbrück. When she completed her training, some say she was given the job at Ravensbrück, and other accounts say she volunteered. It was July of 1942 when she officially became a guard at the Ravensbrück camp. She lost contact with her family, except for a few meetups they had, in which she was not fully honest with what she did and witnessed at the camp. On one particular visit, her father Alfred officially kicked her out of the home because he was against her taking part in anything that had to do with the SS. Back at Ravensbrück, Irma was dubbed the hyena by prisoners. She always walked around in heavy boots, a whip, and a gun. She had been given orders from her superiors not to beat or kill any prisoners, but she did not follow any rules and would frequently kill for the fun of it. After she was caught, there was a homemade lamp found in her quarters that was made from the skin of 3 different prisoners. At a later date, Irma said she protested against becoming a guard, but that did not stop her from accepting a promotion the following year in March of 1943 when she was transferred to the Auschwitz-Birkenau concentration camp. At this camp, she excelled in the eyes of her superiors, and in 1944 she was eventually promoted to the second highest rank a female guard could have. She was under the commander, Joseph Kramer, and he too gave Irma orders about no whips being allowed, amongst other things, but she continued to break the rules and walked around with a clear cellophane whip, an SS dog, and her gun. She actively took part in selecting which prisoners would go to the gas chamber, and her dislike for Jewish people grew. In the beginning of 1945, Irma, along with other SS guards, transported prisoners from Auschwitz to Ravensbrück, and then she was transferred to Bergen-Belsen concentration camp. On April 17, 1945, the British Army came to liberate the Bergen-Belsen concentration camp, and all SS guards who had not escaped were captured. There were approximately 10,000 bodies scattered throughout the camp, and 58,000 survivors, with some of those survivors later becoming witnesses during the trial to testify against Irma. The Belsen trials were trials held by Allied occupation forces, and it began on September 17, 1945. All of the defendants on trial were former officials of Nazi Germany and also capos who were camp prisoners picked by SS guards to supervise other prisoners. In total, there were 12 capos and 32 SS guards on trial, with 16 female SS guards and 16 male SS guards. The trial lasted for exactly 2 months, ending on November 17, 1945. Irma's sister Helene testified in court, along with other witnesses who spoke about Irma beating prisoners up until a day before British troops arrived. Although denying majority of the accusations made against her, witnesses also said that one day, when Irma had to select a group to be killed, 2 young girls jumped out of a window and Irma shot them down. Out of all of the women on trial, Irma was the only female SS guard and camp worker that was sentenced to death. It's been said that while being sentenced, she was the only one who was insolent and showed no remorse. While awaiting her execution, she was held at Hamlin Prison. Irma's execution day was scheduled for December 13, 1945. Just a day before her execution, up until the day of, she spent her time singing Nazi songs with a fellow female prisoner by the name of her execution. She was examined by British executioner Albert Pierpoint, who was in charge of handling all of the hangings for the condemned Belsen trial prisoners. Irma was 5'3", 113 pounds, and when she made eye contact with Albert, she was angered and shouted out that he was doing the Jews' work for them. After her outburst, she was chosen to be hanged first. Women were said to be executed first, and men were executed in pairs, so she was the first in her group to go that day. It was around 9:30 a.m., and prisoners were in their cells. Albert Pierpoint called out for Irma, and her cell door was opened. He asked Irma to follow him, and his assistant by the name of Sergeant Major Richard Anthony O'Neill translated what he said in German. At exactly 9:34 a.m., she was now in the execution chamber. She stood on a mark and had a white hood placed over her head. Her last word was, "quickly," in German, and moments after she uttered the word, the trapdoor flung open. Albert Pierpoint and a doctor went down the stairs to check on her and make sure she was dead. She was hanging there for another 20 minutes before she was taken down, and after that, her body was placed in a coffin, and she was buried in this exact area for war criminals. Thank you guys for watching, and now for discussion and question time. Irma was caught with a human skin.
Well,
medical woman. And to think she wanted to be a nurse.
Well, hope you guys enjoyed this time with us there. I know some of you guys have been waiting quite a while for more of these death row execution reactions, and we've been trying to keep you guys as updated as possible. But I figured why not just do some live reactions there? Why not do 2 in 1, right?
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of fun. Now I gotta let myself kind of cool down from all of that,
I'm
though.
laughing at what Lorna said.
Oh, I know. These are incredible. I mean, my God, they are like the best chocolate bar ever. But yeah, guys, thank you all for coming on in.
Yes,
Who's
thank
here?
you so much.
And we will see you guys later. Yeah, so I think maybe I'll do a poll really soon and see if you guys would rather have live reactions more or the videos. Right? And if we do the lives, maybe we'll be able to actually kind of set up more of a date and time, right?
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit better organized that way. But yeah, so keep an eye out for that. Until then, keep it spooky. We are trying. A lot of
Sorry, Lorna. I'm not being so rude. I kept mine in the wrapper.
having a lot of car issues, but is what it is, right? There's always car issues, right? I mean, that's the main thing when you're a car owner, right?
Yep.
There's always car issues. Okay, guys. Y'all take care.